By midsummer, the rhythms of West Egg had become a symphony of extravagance, with Gatsby's mansion serving as its grand orchestra. Nearly every evening, his house exploded into life, a kaleidoscope of lights, music, and laughter. The parties were legendary, attracting an endless parade of guests from every corner of the city and beyond. They arrived in gleaming automobiles and on roaring motorcycles, spilling onto Gatsby's manicured lawns like a river of sequins and silk. It wasn't long before I received an invitation, one of the few extended formally. Most guests simply appeared, their names unknown even to their host. The invitation arrived in a thick cream envelope, embossed with gold lettering. It was succinct yet elegant, bearing only the time, date, and location of the gathering. No RSVP was required. It was as if Gatsby already knew I would attend. A party like no other. The night of the party, I walked up Gatsby's sweeping driveway, feeling like a trespasser in a world of unimaginable wealth. The house was alive, its windows blazing with light, the strains of a jazz band echoing across the grounds. Waiters in crisp uniforms circulated with silver trays, offering champagne and hors d'oeuvres to a crowd that seemed to sparkle as brightly as the chandeliers overhead. Inside, the mansion was a labyrinth of decadence. The main ballroom stretched endlessly, its high ceilings adorned with gilded moldings. Couples swayed to the music, their laughter rising above the band's brassy notes. In an adjacent room, men in tailored suits played cards at green felt tables, their cigars casting lazy spirals of smoke into the air. Every corner seemed to hold a secret, every conversation laced with intrigue. Despite the spectacle, a peculiar undercurrent ran through the evening. Guests whispered rumors about Gatsby, their voices hushed but tinged with excitement. One man claimed Gatsby was a German spy. Another swore he had killed a man in cold blood. A third insisted he was the illegitimate son of European royalty. Each story was more outlandish than the last, yet none seemed to diminish the magnetic pull of the man himself. Meeting the legend. It was well past midnight when I finally met Gatsby. I had wandered onto the terrace, drawn by the cool night air and the shimmering view of the Sound. A man stood at the edge of the balustrade, gazing out at the water. He turned as I approached, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the lanterns. "You're Nick Carraway, aren't you?" he said, extending a hand. "I'm Gatsby." The simplicity of his introduction caught me off guard. This was the man whose name had become a legend, yet he spoke with a quiet charm that felt disarmingly genuine. Gatsby was younger than I had expected, his features sharp but not unkind. He had an air of calm confidence, as though he were used to being the center of attention but found no particular joy in it. We talked for a while, our conversation flowing easily. Gatsby was an attentive listener, his smile warm but enigmatic. He spoke of his time at Oxford, casually, almost as an afterthought, and hinted at travels that had taken him to the farthest corners of the world. Yet, for all his openness, there was a layer of mystery beneath his words, a sense that he was revealing only what he wanted me to see. "I've been meaning to meet you," he said, his tone almost conspiratorial. "I feel like we'll be good friends, you and I." There was something in his voice that made me believe him, though I couldn't quite say why. A glimpse behind the curtain. Later that evening, Gatsby gave me a private tour of his home. As we walked through the cavernous halls, he spoke with a mix of pride and detachment, as if the mansion were both his greatest achievement and a gilded cage. He showed me a library filled with leather-bound books, their spines gleaming like treasure. He pointed out a collection of rare paintings, each one bearing the signature of a master artist. But it was in the small moments, the way he hesitated at the door of a room, or the way his gaze lingered on an empty chair that I caught glimpses of something deeper. For all his wealth and charm, there was a loneliness about Gatsby, a sense that his grand life was a performance staged for an audience that never quite arrived. As we returned to the terrace, I ventured a question. Why do you host these parties? Most of the people here don't even know you. He smiled, a flicker of sadness in his eyes. I suppose I like to see people happy. Besides, you never know who might show up. I didn't press him further, but his words stayed with me. It was as if he were waiting for someone, a guest who might never come. A connection to Daisy. In the weeks that followed, I learned more about Gatsby, though much of it came secondhand. Jordan Baker, a friend of Daisy's and a frequent guest at Gatsby's parties, told me the most startling revelation. Gatsby and Daisy had a history. They had been in love years ago, before Daisy married Tom. Gatsby had been a young officer then, with little to offer but his devotion. Daisy, under pressure from her family and dazzled by Tom's wealth, had chosen a different path. Now Gatsby had returned, his newfound fortune a means to an end. Every party, every extravagant gesture was orchestrated to bring Daisy back into his life. The green light across the bay, so often the focus of his gaze, marked the location of Daisy's home. It was not merely a light, it was a symbol of everything he yearned for, a dream he refused to let go, the beginning of something bigger. As I pieced together Gatsby's story, I felt a mixture of admiration and unease. His devotion to Daisy was undeniable, yet it was tinged with an obsession that seemed almost otherworldly. He had built his life around a single ideal, a vision of love and happiness that seemed impossibly fragile. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the first stars appeared, Gatsby turned to me with an intensity that caught me off guard. "Do you believe in second chances, Nick?" he asked. I hesitated, unsure how to answer. "I suppose it depends on what you're trying to reclaim." He nodded thoughtfully, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "Sometimes I think the past isn't as far away as people think. Sometimes it's just waiting for the right moment to come back." It was a sentiment that would echo through the summer, shaping the events that were yet to come.